quickly found out, I work in a similar field, that she is really good at what she does. And so Michelle, when she moved over to Oceanside, and even before then, she's involved in supporting industry efforts and training others. So in California, we have something called the California Association California Association for Local Economic Development. We have an ACE program where you become certified, and it's about a week long, and Michelle teaches one of those courses. She is also an ACE herself. She went through the program. And when we talk about economic development in cities, those folks are a bit of an outlier. We have to know how to work in the system, but also how to push the boundaries of the system and what that balancing act is. And I have to say that there's no better individual in San Diego County that does that than Michelle. We're fortunate to have her here in Oceanside. I'm sure she's going to tell us some great things. She's a great person and she does great work. So Michelle.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin.
I usually like to do the under-promise, over-deliver strategy. We'll try to live up to that presentation there. Good evening, everyone. I'm Michelle Gellar. I'm the Economic Development Manager for the City of Oceanside. I think I presented to OCNA when I first started with the city about 4 years ago, so it's been a while, so thanks for having me back. So this presentation is kind of an overview of things that have happened over the last year, 2023, and then some things that are coming up in 2024, with a specific focus on downtown and this area. First, some just basic facts about Oceanside. So we're the third oldest city and the third largest city in San Diego County. I think we beat out Escondido by a few months. We were incorporated in 1888. We have a population of about 180,000, 68,000 households, median age of 38. You can just read through these facts. I won't go into them, but we're a full-service city. So that means we provide our own police, our own fire department, our own water, our own sewer. That typically is not uncommon with older cities. And then we have a city manager form of government, which means unlike a strong mayor government like the city of San Diego has, we have 5 elected officials, a mayor, and 4 council members that represent 4 different districts. And then they oversee policy, and then our city manager actually executes on the operations of the city and runs the city. So we've got just over 8,000 active business licenses in Oceanside, but only about 2,700 of those are actually brick and mortar restaurants and retail stores and things like that. And then just under 2,000 home-based businesses, and then the remainder are businesses outside Oceanside that do business in Oceanside, and we require all businesses that do businesses in Oceanside to have a business license. So our largest employers are actually in the public sector. So that's City of Oceanside, North County Transit District, San Diego County, our school district. But here I listed our largest business clusters, private sector clusters. So these are healthcare, where we have Tri-City Hospital, we have the new Scripps location on Jefferson, biotech, so we have our Genentech campus, we have Kite Pharmaceuticals, Gilead, which has a very large presence here in Oceanside, unfortunately recently announced that they will be transitioning away back to, or they're going to be co-locating in their location in Foster City. So that was definitely disappointing. About 300 jobs are going to be leaving Oceanside, unfortunately. But I would say, had this happened, 15 years ago, it would be quite devastating. I think Oceanside now is in a position where that site and there is enough talent in the area that most likely a new, biotech or pharmaceutical or R&D company will locate there. So it was definitely disappointing news, but these types of things happen. The pharmaceutical industry is a little strange. So then going on into the action sports equipment manufacturing. So we have Hobie Cat that's been based here for a long time. They actually just recently moved all their manufacturing to Mexico. They were bought out by kind of a private investment firm. So, you kind of see the evolution of these companies, but it was really important for them to keep their headquarters in Oceanside and keep that branding of the Oceanside action sports and kind of surf and outdoor vibes. So Hobie Cat still remains here as their home. Then we have food and beverage manufacturing. So that's companies like Oli Salumeria, I always have a hard time saying that word, Sadie Rose Baking Company, Suja Juice, and then tourism, of course, is about 10% of our economy, but still a really important and growing industry in Oceanside. So we have the new Hyatt Resorts, the Mission Pacific Hotel, and the Seabird Resort that opened in 2021. So I include this picture of the California flag whenever I talk about what we do in economic development, because it helps people remember. When people are like, what do you do in economic development? Because there's a bear on the California flag, and in economic development, we throw around the acronym BEAR a lot. So it's business, expansion, attraction, and retention. And not necessarily in that order, actually in the order of business retention first. So first, we want to make sure that all the businesses that exist here in Oceanside are happy here and they stay here. And then expansion, we want to make sure that they, if they, want to grow, that they grow here in Oceanside. We like to say prosper in place. And then lastly, we attract new businesses into Oceanside, and we do that with the partnership of our local real estate brokers who, will go out and make sure that they're attracting thoughtful businesses into Oceanside. So we provide direct assistance to all our businesses. We do all sorts of things for those businesses. For example, finding them maybe a bigger location to expand into. We have a pretty robust website and social media, so we'll actually help new businesses. We'll do a feature about them or share their social. We also act as development services liaison. So sometimes the permitting and entitlement processes can get complicated if you don't know how to navigate the system. So we'll help. We'll help with that, with permitting and things like that. We also could not do our job. We're a small team. It's myself and a department specialist. We could not do our jobs without the help of our local partners. So that's the Oceanside Chamber, Main Street Oceanside, Visit Oceanside, and then we have a lot of regional partnerships like the San Diego North EDC and the other cities that we work with across the region. So here's a little bit of info. Sorry, it's very small. I'll kind of read it to you on the last sales tax revenue data that we have available. So sales tax has remained relatively flat when compared to this same quarter last year, but we're doing actually quite good overall. We're doing better than the state overall. And then the data are interesting because they reflect what we're seeing and hearing anecdotally, right? People are spending less on consumer goods. Online shopping is kind of flat. But actually restaurants and hotels here in Oceanside are up over last year, which is not typical of many cities right now. And then we have an increase in autos and transportation, which if you remember our new CarMax opened last year, the city did an incentive deal with that. We don't do a lot of those. We've only done 2 ever since we've incorporated in 1888. So that was to attract CarMax here to increase our sales tax base. We actually pay back some of the sales tax revenue that they generate, and that's going to have kind of phase out over time, and eventually they'll just be, putting additional revenue into our general fund. So that was a really good call by city leadership, several years back.
Who was the first one with then?
I'm sorry?
Who was the first one with?
The beach resorts, the Hyatt resorts. So they both happened kind of close together. And then these are our top 25 sales tax producers. I don't know if you could read those, but it's kind of what you would expect. Our big box retailers, the Targets, the Walmarts, lots of gas stations. They generate a lot of sales tax revenue for us. And then of course CarMax is up there. McDonald's is up there because they have like 10 locations across Oceanside. It's kind of weird to think that a fast food restaurant can generate a lot of sales tax, but if you have enough of them, yes, they can. And then this is just kind of a snapshot of our city revenue sources. So all this talk of sales tax, well, that's still quite a relatively small aspect of our general fund budget. Really, our biggest revenue source is property taxes in Oceanside. So, from everything we're seeing, while interest rates are kind of, making the real estate market a little, sluggish over this last year or so, Southern California coastal city property values do not appear to be going down anytime soon. So our property taxes in Oceanside tend to be like a very good and sustainable source of revenue. Also, You know, for better or worse, we have a legacy use here in Oceanside called Oceans 11. It's a card room, right? So not too many card rooms left around San Diego County, but they actually generate over $1 million a year in something called a card room tax that we still get. So thank you, Oceans 11. Measure X, if you're familiar, was passed by Oceanside voters in November 2018. So it's a temporary 0.5% sales tax on purchases in Oceanside, and it was only intended to go into place for 7 years. So it actually expires in 2025. So it's paid for some very important programs and services since it went into effect. Sometime before August, City Council will vote if they want to put it on the November 2024 ballot to renew it for an extended amount of time after that. And there will be a lot of outreach and education. You may have already received a survey about it maybe a few months ago about what your thoughts are around the Measure X tax increase. So here are just some public development projects, city and other public entities that I'll go through. So first, the beachfront improvements phase 1 is complete. So there are new restrooms, a police substation that's down kind of in the amphitheater area, and new stairways and lovely new palm tree landscaping down there. Beachfront improvements phase 2. So last October, the city approved going into a contract with a firm to do an environmental review for this phase. So that includes the Junior Seau Community Center down there and the amphitheater. That whole design and environmental review will probably take about 2 years. So there will be a lot of community engagement. There already was a lot, but there will be more, before any kind of construction or anything will begin. And right now, I think staff is going through, if you're familiar with the California Coastal Commission, getting permits there. So it'll be a process, but over the next 2 years, that should be also redeveloped. And as you are all aware, erosion is a big problem for us in Oceanside and has been for a while. Right now, I don't know if you've seen the beach lately, but there's very little sand right there near the pier. So last year, the city hired a local coastal administrator to basically oversee our sand retention and replenishment process. So she's done a huge amount of work over the last year. As part of that, the city did a juried competition to identify strategies to prevent this erosion and to retain the sand on our beaches. So just last month, actually in January, council approved the winning firm, which is an Australian firm that actually has done projects on the Gold Coast in Australia and successfully retained sand there. So that's actually going to include an artificial reef offshore. And they will be studying that over the next year or so, kind of gathering funds to be able to do it, and kind of doing almost like, it sounds like they're going to be doing like prototypes in kind of artificial wave areas to see how it behaves. And if you want to kind of get progress on it, the rebeachoceanside.com website is where you go to keep up with that project. We recently replaced the utilities on the pier. So I don't know if you go down there a lot, you saw the yucky, fencing and all that. It's all gone, and Lot 29 is open again, and it looks really nice down there now. And that will enable the restaurant that Ruby's Diner was formerly there, and it's taking an awfully long time, and it is not the city necessarily that is taking a long time. This restaurateur is just taking their time figuring out what they want to do there, but hopefully this utilities replacement will kind of motivate that to happen. Fire Station 1 is almost complete. That's right across the street from City Hall. The Oceanside Navigation Center at 3131 Oceanside Boulevard to assist people experiencing homelessness. There are 49 beds, and it's operated by the San Diego Rescue Mission, so that just opened this last year. Prior to that, our police department does not really have the ability when someone is sleeping somewhere in a public right-of-way or someplace to move them along unless they have somewhere to go. So we kind of had an interim solution of a motel voucher program where they would give them nights in a motel. But now that we have this shelter, they have a little more ability to kind of keep people from camping and staying in places that kind of impede the community's ability to use those spaces. We have Greenbrier Village is an affordable housing project with 59 units that will be opening later this year at Crouch Street, on Greenbrier Drive at Crouch Street, the Crouch Street Sprinter Station. The Coast Highway Corridor Improvement Project. So this was a project that had a lot of community input and was approved by council kind of way back in, like, I want to say 2016. And then it kind of went quiet for a while, and now it has the design is in progress, and we already had one community meeting about it. So it's basically what they call a road diet along Coast Highway from Neptune to the north, all the way down to Wisconsin to the south. It narrows Coast Highway down to one lane in either direction with a very small median and bike lanes on either side. The intent is to slow down traffic. As you know, if you are walking down Coast Highway, or you're crossing the street, or maybe you're dining somewhere and you just see people like bombing down Coast Highway going like 50 miles an hour. The idea is, this will also have roundabouts, so the idea is it will slow traffic, but actually, the studies have shown that you will get from point A to point B along Coast Highway at the same or quicker than if you're jamming along, stopping at a stoplight for a while, waiting for people to turn left, all the kind of things that are happening now. So we don't have the funding to actually do the construction yet, but should everything go as planned, construction could start perhaps in spring of 2025, and then it would be a phased project with kind of done in sections. The citywide fiber optic cable installation project officially kicked off recently. So it's a partnership with Sci-Fi Networks. You can learn more at oceansidefibercity.com. They're going to kind of be doing micro-trenching, and there'll be construction schedules, and they're doing like food trucks and things in neighborhoods to kind of engage with the community. So check out oceansidefibercity.com. Tri-City is opening a behavioral health facility with 16 beds on their existing campus, and that's estimated to open this summer, so that will be helpful. Coastal Academy is opening a new campus in the former county building, and this is a great activation of this office space. Actually, it's a pretty old office, kind of Class C office, not very appealing. Coastal Academy is going in there, really changing it, making it lovely, and they will have students on campus hopefully this August for the next school year. Miracosta College, anybody been on campus lately? So much construction going on, and there's beautiful new, they have 6 new buildings, new student services, new kinesiology, health and nutrition, chemistry and biotech, a media arts complex, just a ton of really cool construction going on in Miracosta College. Some new businesses that have recently opened. So we have Panikin Coffee and Tea in the former Bunker House on Cleveland. So Panikin, you're probably familiar with it, on Coast Highway in Leucadia, very famous, and really has a great reputation. A lot of people ask, do we need another coffee place in Oceanside? Yes. Well, they keep opening, and at this point, I guess, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that, but they are popular. CVS is downtown on Mission and Coast Highway. People also question, do we need a national chain and a quaint downtown? Well, as Kevin will attest to, so you can't have all independent mom and pop shops in your downtown. You kind of sometimes need that corporate anchor with that, national capital to support it. And also we have a lot of residents downtown that need the things at CVS, the pharmacy and everything. So CVS, from an economic development perspective, is definitely a win. We have a new Handles ice cream, a flip-flop shop, original kebab, Allahana acai bowls, and Cosmos burgers, all in Pierview Plaza, which is right across from City Hall at Coast Highway and Pierview Way. Another couple of cool new businesses, Coffee Place and Gelato Place on Mission Avenue. Sublime Tap House, which initially opened as Mock Organic, but then decided that no one wanted that, so then they became Sublime Tap House, which is the folks who opened Sublime Tap House in San Marcos, if you remember that years ago. That's in Pierside South. Brine Box is out on the pier. That's David and Jessica Waite, who have The Plot and Wrench and Rodent, and the Pokey Place. I'm totally spacing the Pokey Place. Thank you, Shoots. So they're great restaurateurs. They open Brine Box on the pier, and they're just like super into sustainability and fresh ingredients, and we're really happy to have them in Oceanside. Paddle, California, open on Coast Highway at 222 South Coast Highway. It's, I'm not familiar with it. It seems like a pickleball-y kind of activity. Kevin, are you familiar with paddleball?
Played it a lot.
How is it? How does it compare to pickleball?
It's a cross between tennis and racquetball and pickleball.
Oh,
So the
okay.
court is bigger and plays a little different, but you can play off the back wall.
Oh, okay, so that's right there on Coast Highway. Green Cheek Beer. Green Cheek is an outfit out of Orange County that is going into the Bagby location. Bagby is, vacating their location here in Oceanside. We are very sorry to see them go, but we understand Green Cheek are great operators, and I believe they're planning to open in March.
March 1st.
We just saw it.
Okay.
Good.
So that's right.
Rise and Grind, which is kind of an offshoot of LTH, which is an awesome and a modern Jewish deli, and then Canvas, which if you know Kevin Shin, who opened the Switchboard, that's his kind of experimental restaurant that kind of switches out different themes on the regular. We have Evolved Skateboards at 114 South Coast Highway. They are e-skateboards. If you thought you could hurt yourself on a regular skateboard, now you might be. Sound by the Sea Listening Lounge. Has anyone visited? It's super cool. It's a strange concept, a listening lounge at 325 South Coast Highway. They have these really cool DJ booths and vintage kind of amplifiers, and they have kind of a coffee bar, and it's a really cool vibe, and I think it just like fits Oceanside's unique character so well. Starbucks at 801 North Coast Highway. Some could argue, do we need another Starbucks? In this particular location, if you're familiar with that north end of Coast Highway, activating that vacant site is actually really great for that area because it kind of gets more eyes and ears in that area. That tends to be a little bit, the Motel 6 just tends to be a little bit of a magnet for transient activity. So I think this actually is a really good use up here. These are just some other new businesses that have opened, like in the Mission Square Center right there across from Oceanside High School. Heritage Skate Shop, a little family-owned skate shop in South O. Bread and Cheese Eatery, which I think also does breakfast burritos in what was, I believe, was it the former, no, not the Panikin? Was it the Panikin? Yeah, in South O, 1904 South Coast Highway. Heritage Barbecue, out there at the corner of Vista Way and Coast Highway. They're doing very well. This is their second location, their first one in San Juan Capistrano. I think they have a Michelin plate. It's very popular. A couple other little businesses that open in South O right there on Vista Way. And then the Freeman Collective. So the Fabric Investments is the developer of this project. They do adaptive reuse, so it was the old red and white market, and now they have Black Market Bakery, Home State, Corner Pizza, Artifacts Brewing, Little Fox Cups and Cones. Tanner's Prime is not quite open yet, but they will be soon, and all of these are just top-notch businesses. Highly recommend if you haven't visited. L&L Hawaiian Barbecue, finally opened in that vacant, I don't remember, it was a Popeyes or something that just never opened in Seaside. Yeah. Oh, Churches, thank you.
Yeah.
In Seaside Crossroads. So those are just some, we have actually many other new businesses that have opened across Oceanside, and hit me up if you want the full list. But I just kind of focused on things that were kind of close to downtown and close to this area. So from the standpoint of vacancy rates, we're actually doing really well in Oceanside. We're mostly built out, so there isn't a whole ton of new commercial, retail, and industrial, and office being built in Oceanside. But from a vacancy rate standpoint, 4.7% is perfectly respectable. It's a little up, but rents are also up, which I'm sure if you were a small business owner, that is a little rough. But in general, that is good for a city when your rents do go up. Industrial went from virtually zero this same quarter last year to about 4.1%. Industrial is still at a premium just because of kind of the tendency to want those, well, basically distribution centers. Not that we have any in Oceanside, but in general, that tends to be the trend. Again, rent is up. And then office. From what I understand, downtown San Diego's vacancy rate for office right now is like somewhere between 25 and 30%. It's very, very high. There's a lot of vacant office in downtown San Diego. We are not doing very badly because we just don't have a lot of office space in Oceanside, and that is right now good for us. So 8.4%, and even rent in offices is up. So projects in progress. If you're familiar with the old North County Times building at 1722 South Coast Highway, that is currently under construction. They have one signed tenant, which is Municipal, which is kind of a Biore competitor that Mark Wahlberg started. I'm hoping he comes to town when they have their grand opening, and I know that they're trying to secure additional tenants for that space. Finney's Craft House and Kitchen is going to go into the old Cabo Grill downtown on Tremont. So that's a great redevelopment that's been sitting vacant for way too long, and Finney's is a good operator. And then the founder of what's called Crackheads in Carlsbad has this container restaurant concept at 502 South Coast Highway. It is also taking a while. I think he had some stormwater things going on, but it looks like it's making progress. And then, of course, what I think is probably going to be the biggest deal in 2024 is the Front Wave Arena in El Corazon in the middle of Oceanside. So it's a roughly 6,500 capacity sports arena that will be the new home of the San Diego Soccer's indoor professional soccer team. It will also be a place where concerts can happen. So the Soccers only do games about 20-something weeks a year. So the rest of the year will be programmed with special events and concerts and things. And it's slated to open August, September of this year. And then additional business expansions that will bring more jobs into Oceanside. The Titleist Performance Institute is out in our industrial area. They're doing a major expansion. They're kind of a low-key operator, but if you're into golf, you probably are familiar with them. You can go out there and get fitted for clubs, practice around, spend a bunch of money on golf clubs. And then Genentech is doing a major expansion, $450 million they're investing into their campus. That's expected to open next year and bring 150 new jobs into Oceanside. And then Hydronautics, they are building about 15,000 square foot facility next to their existing facility on Via Del Monte. And then some residential and mixed use projects either in the pipeline or under construction. So we have the Flats, also Fabric Investments, who I mentioned did the Freeman Collective and the Tremont Collective. So this is, 18 apartments in South Oceanside on Coast Highway with commercial on the bottom. There is a wine bar that is slated to go in on the ground floor, and then they're looking for an additional tenant. Alta Oceanside was the former main attraction across from the Chamber of Commerce on North Coast Highway, and that is well underway. I think they've already painted it. So that is, 308 apartments with mixed use on the ground floor. And then this is Madeira Neptune on North Coast Highway. So this is the Motel 6 site that I mentioned. There's a developer that is planning to do 360 apartments. And about 10% of them would be low income, and then possibly incorporate a boutique hotel into that project. The Oceanside Transit Center is an 11-acre site right, just downtown, adjacent to the Oceanside Transit Center. Ultimately, we'll have 547 apartment units, 15% of which will be low and moderate income housing, and 173-room boutique hotel, new headquarters for North County Transit District, and retail and restaurant uses. The parking structure will remain there, but it will be painted and spruced up. 810 Mission Avenue, which is the current North County Transit District headquarters on Mission Avenue, will be a 7-story mixed-use development with about 206 apartments, 15% low and moderate income. Ocean Place, so that's where the Regal Theater is currently, will be a 6-story mixed-use with 332 units, 10% affordable. Sunset Mixed Use, so this is on the west side of Horn between Pierview and Civic Center, and it's 6-story mixed use of about 180 units with ground floor commercial. And then 901 Pierview Way, this is just up from the Oceanside Museum of Art, 7-story mixed use, 64 units, 10% affordable. And then 712 Seagaze, next to LLL Reptile, there's a vacant site there. It'll be an 8-story mixed use with 179 units, 10% affordable. So in the past, most of the development downtown had paid, you can pay an in lieu fee instead of actually putting affordable housing into your project, and most developers prior to this had been doing that instead. I'm actually happy to see that every development downtown so far is putting on-site affordable housing, and even the North County Transit District projects are exceeding what the city requires of 10%. So it's nice to see that there's going to be, places that are affordable to live in downtown.
Do you have a total of the number of new apartments coming in?
It's about 2,000.
2,000?
It's about,
Okay.
yeah,
Sorry.
about 2,000, because I did the math.
Any new grocery stores coming in?
Well, and we could get into that, but typically you need the people before the commercial. So I absolutely, assuming that there are, spaces available for that type of thing, then yes, that will absolutely come. And a caveat, these, like for example, the North County Transit District, these are years down the line, like, and a couple of them may not even happen.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna happen overnight, for sure. And Ocean Camp on the horizon. So that's out on the former drive-in theater site, 92 acres, and eventually we'll have 700 homes, a 300-key hotel, and a surf lagoon, in addition to retail and restaurant uses. And then just some fun little things that we're doing is the Oceanside electric vehicle shuttle. We got money from Visit Oceanside, Sandag, and City General Fund to keep this program going for a couple of years. It started last summer, and so far great. We're in the low season now, but we'll ramp back up in, I think, May or June, and everybody loves the program. Valle, which is in the Mission Pacific Hotel, was granted a Michelin star last year. That was the first ever Michelin star for an Oceanside restaurant, so big deal. The Oceanside Cultural District, which you've probably heard from Jane, got a significant amount of funding last year, hired a full-time person to sort of oversee their administrative operations and events. Sorry, and also a study came out showing the economic impact of the arts, including in Oceanside, and it was quite significant. The Community Choice Energy Initiative will be implemented here in April, and it provides alternatives to utilities customers for where we all get our power. And Innovate 78, which is our regional partnership with the other 4 cities along the 78 corridor, of which Kevin and I were founding members, is still alive and well. So we do programming and events in partnership with the San Diego North Economic Development Council, and we're starting a new relationship with an organization called Connect, which represents founders and funders across San Diego County to really continue to foster the entrepreneurial ecosystem in North County. And one of our claims to fame with Innovate 78 is that if you have a business in Escondido, and Escondido just does not have a spot for you to expand, my counterpart in Escondido reaches out to her counterparts across the corridor and says, hey, do you have a spot for these guys? Because we'd much rather have them maybe move to Vista or Oceanside and have the employees still be able to keep their jobs and not have to actually relocate out to LA or Riverside County or down to San Diego. So it truly is an innovative partnership in that we don't compete with each other. We really work together to make sure our whole corridor is, all the businesses are happy and succeed here. And then our comprehensive general plan update has been in progress for about the last 2 years. It's a huge endeavor. We have parts of our land use element that haven't been updated since Reagan was president. This stuff is old. So this is basically the blueprint for the city's growth and development for the next 20, 30 years. And so this is an important project, and I believe it will be brought to council this summer for approval, and has some really, really cool concepts of what's going to happen kind of along the commercial corridors of Oceanside Boulevard and Mission Avenue, kind of to the east, to ensure that there's thoughtful growth. Because when you're incorporated in 1888, you can get a lot of funky zoning and a lot of funky uses and some weird industrial zoning next to residential, and the idea is to really kind of soften all of that and ensure that Oceanside is progressing in a way that all the residents and businesses appreciate. So that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer questions. If you think of something later, feel free to call or email me.
So Michelle, do you think that the part of the reason that they're not doing in lieu fees is because of the density bonus?
Oh, yeah.
That, you know.
Not out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah, because they
But yeah.
are able to build, you know, more units per square
Yes,
foot of property, which does help in the long
Yes.
run, because I know that in the past, there has been, you know, money in the in lieu fund bank that just sits because there's never really a vehicle to put it to work. Is that true?
yeah, I mean, the state has enacted policies to encourage more housing being built because we have, hello, Mayor. I'm gonna start over because the mayor's. No. Mayor, Mr. Sanchez, everyone. Yeah, I mean, we have a housing shortage in California. We could build and never catch up, so they've enacted policies to make it, you know, more lucrative for developers to include, additional density and affordable, so they are taking those opportunities, and yes.
Is there anything happening with the old Jolly Roger building in the harbor?
So, it was sort of slated to be an event venue. I don't think that's panning out, so I think that's in flux right now, as far as what's happening there. Yeah.
I had a question about the lot on Mission and Clementine, that area, you know that? It's kind of across from the high school.
Okay,
It's been
yeah,
fenced off for
okay, was that the Belvedere?
years.
Belvedere, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
Any development plans for that?
No, not that I'm aware of, no. There's, things have kind of come and gone on that site, but nothing that I'm aware of in the pipeline right now.
Okay, and just a question about the presentation. Can we get a copy of that? Can we
Sure.
Look at that?
Sure,
Okay, that'd be great.
it's really big. I think I can just send someone like a Dropbox link and get it to you.
When Jane gets back, we'll have her
Okay.
put a link to the website. If we can do something like that, would be great.
Is there, I thought it was something about development by the airport.
the way?
So
By the
are you
airport?
talking about the old TV connectivity site?
I don't know,
or-
like transportation,
Oh, are you talking about the warehouse?
the warehousing area, yes.
Yeah. A developer would like to do a distribution and warehousing project there.
The
it's-
Eddie Jones.
Eddie
Eddie
Jones,
Jones.
Eddie Jones Way. It's a little, it's quite intense. It would be a quite intense use.
Over 100.
Phase.
And the
Yes.
residents are not thrilled about that.
There's a group that's, you can look up that's,
So I think he's gone back to the drawing board to see if perhaps he can come with something that is a little more palatable. But for now, yeah, that's kind of the story there.
Hi, is there, going back to the, Coast Highway corridor, is there a way to see or a place to go and look at traffic flow before and after? Or where the car's gonna go?
Funny that you should say that. So,
It's part of the process.
they will be doing a traffic study of before and after. In fact, the befores are starting now. And then, they have been in talks with the folks down south, like Encinitas, where they've already put those in place, to kind of get a feel for that. But it sounds like what may happen is it will be phased, and maybe one section will be done, it will be tested.
So the Coastal Commission basically required a traffic study.
Okay,
Yeah. So that's something that they were gonna have to do anyway.
it seems like Horn and Wisconsin are gonna get a lot busier, do you think that's true?
Yeah, right now, it's all in the details, right? So engineering is looking at it, because I don't know how long you've been here, but when they suggested that, I didn't think they'd fit. Anybody else think that it wasn't gonna fit, so it was never gonna happen? Yeah, so, but they're think that they can fit. And so I think the biggest challenge is making sure that they don't take too much parking away. That would impact some of the shops.
The project overall will be a net increase in parking, but there's certain businesses that, because of the design, their parking out front will basically be eliminated, and that's obviously a challenge
That's a challenge.
when you're a small business and you rely on that. But as far as, yes, the traffic, there was a study done initially for the project that was approved. Was it in 2016, Mayor, that like
It's been a while, it's been a while.
Yeah.
And a lot has changed.
Right.
You probably remember that it was first road diet, and then we're gonna add 5,000 housing units onto Coast Highway.
On top.
So it was first trying to slow down the traffic, right, so that the shops could get some attention, and, because there was not a whole lot of, there were a lot of empty spaces for commercial. Things have changed over time, right, so it's like, a lot has changed.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that they're gonna evaluate and reevaluate.
And we looked at the draft DEIR and notated spots where, I mean, everybody took a section of this 500, 600 page document when it first came out. And of course, it's been amended and amended, but but we did look at where they thought, there would be delays or where there would be cut through traffic in order to address that. That's like why Seagaze went one way up. There were ways to look at things like that. So it's being considered because we all live here.
Yeah.
If I could ask, because I don't live in this corridor, right? Because way back in the day, every summer, Coast Highway would be used as if it was a cut through, when 5 would like be standing still. Do you think that's still happening?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, during the summer?
On the weekends today, it still happens.
Yeah, it's Thursday
still
nights,
that, right? And
You mentioned that it's gonna end in Wisconsin?
No, it's Oceanside Boulevard.
Is
Oh,
any-
sorry, yes, sorry. Wisconsin is the last roundabout. And
Right,
then
the
they'll-
Oceanside Boulevard events.
Okay.
Sorry.
So is anything gonna happen going further north?
So Neptune is the furthest north with some holdouts.
Okay.
And then the first roundabout will be at Pierview Way and Coast Highway.
From the Star, so hopefully they're not gonna do anything to the Star.
Just none, that's untouched.
With the transit center redevelopment, is there any discussion about eliminating the underpass and creating something over the tracks?
Not that I'm aware of.
Which one?
Eliminating the underpass with the transit center redevelopment.
Well, I know that the transit district is working with Camaro on Main Street on improving that and doing some.
Do a beautification of it, so I don't think they're planning to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the pedestrian underpass?
Yeah, it's being looked at
okay.
with with Street and others
Yeah, it
to
needs to be
beautify
cleaned
it.
up.
It's gonna be, it's all in process
so
right
they're
now.
not gonna get rid of
They're
it,
securing
gonna
grant money
make it
as we
better.
speak.
Yeah. Yeah, didn't they play music all the time, so that kind of annoys people?
No, that was.
Yeah, that's the other one. This one down here.
They do
Well,
need
they
to
do
do that
need to do
there.
that on that one.
Yeah, that one's.
It's pretty.
It's getting better.
Shady.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you having me. Like I said, if you have any other questions after the fact, feel free to call or email me, and we'll get the presentation to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now's the time to ask for a raise.
Well, that was awkward.
I was an HR.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for a wonderful presentation. Thanks to Kevin for introducing us into much more qualifications and abilities. Anyway, if anybody has any questions, we will get the link to this presentation from Michelle, and we get it on the website. Anything else? Thank you all for coming, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go get my little cart thing
Okay.
that I need for tomorrow.
Yes.
We'll stick it on the other one.
No, I'm a board member here. The organization.
He's incredible. I'm gonna go. I've enjoyed them immensely. My kind of music.
Oh yeah, come over right now.
I would never.
I'll be back.
Jane is the president, she's on vacation, and Kurt is at a SDSU basketball game, but they're looking for people. If you wanna join, please, we'd love to have you. I'm the newest member, it's been 20 years, and they've done some really great things as far as real here in South O. You're getting a green thing you are in our, district that we're trying That's not all. They got to fix through a little bit yeah, they are several times.
Thanks for the kind words. That was
Okay, so they've done disseminating information. Just the Emerson or whatever to get a traffic stop or whatever they do. Because that's what the traffic studies for Coast Highway or for
I mean, if he is okay, you know, because I was talking to John and he said, look, I still want to see it.
I can't, because I have to keep the signs over anyway. The rest of it's over there. Perfect.
The store's locked.
Just go out that way and I'll shut it off. What's
Good meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks for putting it on.
Yeah, and it'll be up. We have a OCNA YouTube channel now. I'll have to go.